In this module, we are going to learn about different ways to organize data using data structures like object and array. But before getting into the object in more details, let's recap all the different types of values we have in JavaScript. So the values are of two types, primitive and non-primitive. Primitive values can contain number, string, boolean, null, and undefined. But non-primitive has only object. The main difference between primitive and non-primitive is primitives can only hold one value at a time, but non-primitive, that is an object, can hold multiple values at the same time. So to understand why do we need object, let's look at an example. So there are 4 students in a class, and we want to store their information like name, age, and whether they are adult or not. So to store this information, the simplest way would be to just go ahead and create 3 variables named name, age, and is adult and store their information. But as soon as we have to store other students' information also, for that we will have to name each variable uniquely. And in that way what will happen is like we will have to create a total of 12 variables to store the information of 4 students. So this is a lot of variable to manage, and become even more complex if the number of students or the number of properties increases. So this is not a feasible way to do that. In this way we can understand instead of having 12 variables to hold, why not have each student's information in an object and we can store multiple values there. So let's just understand what is an object. An object is a collection of properties. It can hold multiple properties. What is a property? Property is key value pair. Key is going to be string and value can be anything. It can be a number, string, boolean. It can also be an object. To create object, we use curly brackets, also known as object literal. Every object is a collection of properties and each property needs a key and value. So we can see now instead of having 3 variables, we can have one variable with all the information of a single student. So now for 4 students, we just need 4 variables. Even if the number of properties increases, our number of variable will not increase. So this is the right way of storing information that is a bit complex. So we learned about creating objects. Let's go ahead and learn about different operations we can perform in objects, like accessing a value, adding a new property, updating a value, and deleting the property. So to access a value from an object, we can use 2 operators, dot operator and square bracket operator, and we'll see them in action. So to access a property name, we can go ahead and say user.name. So user is the name of variable that holds an object, and name is the key I want to access. Here we are using dot operator to access name key from user object. Similarly, we are accessing age key from user object. We can also use square bracket. While using square bracket, it is very important to give the key in string. So here if I want to access age, I'll have to say string age. Similarly, if I want to access is adult, I'll do it like this. So this is how you access a value from an object using dot operator and square bracket. We will learn about specific use cases of square bracket in a while. Let's go ahead and add a new property to the object. To add new property, name of the object followed by dot operator and the name of the key. So key I want to add is city and the value is London. Now if we access user, we can see it has a new property called city and the value is London. Similarly, we can add new property in an object using square bracket. User, whenever we pass a key in square bracket, we pass it in string. Now if we access user, we can see it has 2 new properties, city, London, and batch is 8. So again, if we want to access the property, we can just go ahead and say city. You can see the value is London. So this is how you add new property. Let's go ahead and learn about updating a value. How about if I want to update the age of the user from 24 to 26? So we can do it using dot operator like this. Here we are passing using dot operator. Here we are saying assign a value of 26 to the key of age in user object. When the key doesn't exist, it will create a new property. But if the key exists, it will update the property to the new value. So now if we access user, we will see the age is 26. We can also say user.age and we can access the property. And let's move on to the last one, that is deleting a key. To delete a key, say for example, we want to delete city. So we can go ahead and say delete is the special keyword to delete a property of an object, followed by the name of the object and the key you want to delete. So we deleted user.city. Let's look at user now. So it doesn't contain city anymore. Let's go ahead and delete using square bracket. So we are deleting the batch property from user object, and we can see in user we do not have the batch property anymore. So in this way we learned about different operations we can perform an object, like accessing, adding, updating and deleting. Now we'll go ahead and learn about some rules for naming the key in an object. For that, we'll create an object. We have seen key like age, and the value can be anything. You can also have key that is multiple words, something like first name. But whenever you're having multiple word key name, remember to put it in double quotes. Otherwise, if you don't have double quotes and you press enter, you'll see unexpected token. But if you do something like this with double quote, it will not throw an error. You can just say user info and you can see you can have key that is multiple words. Similarly, we can also have key that is a number like 10 and the value is test. And at last, in an object, key can also be the special keyword, something like let or type of. So whenever the key is a single word, you don't have to put it in double quotes. But whenever it is multiple words, you have to put it in double quotes. It can be a number or it can also be a special keywords like let or type of. Now let's go ahead and try accessing those properties. So whenever the key is just a single word, you can just do this. How about accessing first name? So user.firstname, and it will give you an error because there is a space in it and it doesn't understand that. So whenever you are accessing multiple word, dot operator will not work. Let's go ahead and test it with number. Even with number it is not working, like unexpected number. So we found out that dot operator doesn't work with multiple word and number. Let's test it with let, and it works properly. Similarly, like type of will work the same. But whenever it is multiple words or number, it will not work. That is where square bracket comes in play. So whenever your key is multiple word, always use square bracket. So we can say user info square bracket first name, and we can access the property John. Similarly, if we want to access the property 10, we will have to use square bracket. So whenever the key is multiple word or a number, you have to use square bracket to access the property. One last thing about object. Whenever you are accessing any property that doesn't exist in an object, like username. So in user info, there is no property called username. If you do that, you'll get empty value undefined. So we learned about creating an object and operations like accessing, adding, updating, and deleting, and some rules about naming the key in an object. We also learned about like there are two ways to access a property using dot operator and square bracket. And square bracket is useful whenever your key is multiple word or a number.